Okay. All right. We are live. All right. Aloha. Welcome, Michelle. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Yeah, me too. This is like a virtual Hawaii interview.
Well,
So,
I'm dying to come to Hawaii, so I'll pretend like I'm there with you.
okay, good. Sounds good. Being here virtually is better than not being here, I suppose, right?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, awesome. So, welcome those of you that are watching. I have a special guest interview again today, and her name is Michelle Thomas. And I want to read her bio before we get started. All right, Michelle Thomas is the founder of ONEderland Wellness. That is a really cool name.
Thank you.
Okay, that's me saying that. That's not what you have in your bio. But she has cracked the code to the permanent 100-pound weight loss. She helps women reach their ONEderland goal, which is below 199 on the scale, consistently, so they can get off the weight loss roller coaster and stop observing life and start living it. Michelle knows all too well the shame of losing 100 pounds and gaining it all back, not once, but twice. Finally, after losing 120 pounds a third time around at 42 and maintaining it for 6 years, she knew her mission was to help other women ditch that 100 plus pounds consistently and permanently so they can stay off the weight loss roller coaster forever.
Yes.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much for being here. I really want people to watch this interview and find out if, they resonate with your story. And that's why I invited you here, is so that you can share your wonderful story. It sounds like you have been through a lot as well. So I want you to go back and, as far as you need to, even back to childhood, just tell us your story from childhood, what happened and what got you to where you are now, and any other wonderful details that you have to share as well. Because sometimes in the middle of those stories, there's some really cool things happening or that have happened.
Yes. Okay. Well, I will tell you, I was 3 months premature, and the doctor told my mom to keep me alive, feed me. Well, in my mother's mind, that meant if I had a skin knee, give me a Twinkie. If I was upset over the kids being mean at school, give me a ding dong. So she fed everything. She fed, hurt feelings and bumps and bruises and everything throughout my entire life. That was her solution. It was her solution for me, but it was also her solution for her. She really didn't know any different.
Mm-hmm.
So, the first time the doctor put me on a diet, I was 9. It was 800-calorie diet.
I've never heard of anybody going on a diet at the age of 9.
9, and he told me all I had to do was eat less and move more, and that I would lose the weight. And then proceeded to kind of what we would call shame me for the next 10 years, saying that I obviously didn't get it and I was lazy because I couldn't eat less and move more. Nobody ever had a clue that, in the background, I would start to lose weight and then something would happen and my mom would feed, all of that. So growing up, I had a coping mechanism for everything. It revolved around sweets and junk food and fast food and, crappy food. And was not naturally an active person. I kind of trip over my feet a lot. And I like to sit down and read a good book or do cross stitch or puzzles or whatever. I was never athletic. I was never, into that kind of thing. How I married a guy that was a skier, a road biker, and everything in between, rock climber, everything in between, I have no idea. But the insanity of 30 years later. All of this kind of steamed up. And then when I was 21, my best friend and I went to an Air Force Academy non-commissioned officers country bar, and I ended up being the brunt of a joke by some of the guys. And miraculously, I lost 100 pounds in 4 months because I proved that son of a you know what. That he was
Wow.
wrong and what he did was wrong. And I was basically angry at the world. And that was my motivation
Mhm.
to basically not eat, move a lot, and lose the weight. Needless to say, that didn't last very long.
Yeah, that's traumatic. It sounds very, like, emotionally traumatic.
Yes. Needless to say, I gained it back in like 8 months, a year, something like that.
Wow.
During that period, I met my amazing husband who absolutely never once saw the weight come on or go off. He doesn't care. He told me last night, he goes, "You look good however you are, honey. I don't care."
What
But
a good man.
he is. I'll keep him. It's taken me 30 years to train him and him to train me for 30 years. So, you know, uh, and he will watch this later and laugh hysterically at that because we joke all the time about how much effort we've put into training each other.
That could be like a whole 'nother interview just in itself, just on that topic.
Yes. We are the crazy couple that are still together 30 years later. But, so I had my first child and gained a whole lot of weight. And then I was very unhappy with life. Not necessarily was there anything bad, just it I wasn't a happy person.
Mhm.
And that caused me, how did I cope? I coped eating, so I kept gaining. Yeah.
So after that time where you felt you weren't happy, were you able to figure out at that moment why you weren't unhappy? Was it just with your weight, or was it with yourself, or was it hormones after childbirth? What do you think it was?
It was, I have very high go-go standards.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I am one of those people that is always climbing and reaching for that next level. Typically, that was academically, and during that time, I was not in college. And for me not to have some sort of outside goal made
Mhm.
me both miserable inside and then it came out. I was just not a happy person. And I know that I'm very goal driven.
Uh-huh.
So that's part of the reason why I do what I do now is because I need those goals and I need that next step. Um, but back then I really didn't know. I was a 25-year-old kid, brand new mother
Mhm.
that was living in I grew up in a rather wealthy house and I was living in a single wide trailer in a trailer park. And nothing resonated with me in my life. It wasn't, I was wanted to strive to do better, but my father was very much if you want it, you have to work for it. I'm not giving you squat kind of person.
Oh, he
Appreciate now because I'm that
right.
mother, my oldest child, and I understand why. But back then, I was a spoiled little brat and didn't understand why.
So even though you had to work for everything that you wanted, you still acted like a brat?
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh yeah, I am a self-admitted spoiled rotten brat, and it took me many years and actually moving 2,000 miles away from home to appreciate what my father was trying to do and that my husband and I needed to lean on each other and build
Mhm.
rather than leaning on my dad and my husband saying, "Come on, let's go." Uh,
Right, right.
so yeah, I am a self-admitted spoiled little brat because my mother would tell me yes and my father would tell me no. And so I would play one against the other and the whole thing. Needless to say, my kids don't get by with that.
Yeah, well, we parent our parenting skills are interesting, aren't they?
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. And if my oldest watches this later, I am in so much trouble. But I will hear it later. But yeah, so during that time, it was kind of a learning about me and learning
Mhm.
what I needed to change. And then my husband and I went through a rough patch, and I had started losing weight again, and I had lost the weight. And then we ended up picking up, and remember when I said I moved 2,000 miles away from home?
Mhm.
In the middle of that, we picked up and moved 2,000 miles away after I had lost
Wow.
100 pounds and I had quit smoking. And, you know, it was around my 32nd birthday when all of this happened. And after about 7 months away from home, I was extremely unhappy. I am very much a Colorado girl, and it was very hard for me on the East Coast. There are way too many trees. Um, from the plains, and I like being from the plains. Um, and so went back into that. Here I had this nice corporate career that let me work from home. I've worked from home for 20 years, give or take, in
Oh.
various locations. And, you know, I've had, uh, while we were out there, found out we couldn't have any more kids, but yet I had two more.
Interesting, huh?
Yeah, yeah. So I had the 24-year-old and the 14-year-old, but there's only 17 months between my younger two. So
Wow.
15, 14. Um, and so I gained all the weight back that I had lost in my 30s while we were out there very, very quick.
Oh.
Because the only coping mechanism, once again, that I had to deal with my emotions and to deal with
Mhm.
how I felt was food. Because the first time I didn't change anything. I just, you know, like ignored all of my bad habits. I like just shut everything off and said, nope, you can't do that. You're going to follow the rules, and these are the rules, and that's it. And, you know, when you reach that end place, then you can have whatever.
Well, it sounds like because you're such a driven and goal person, like you were gonna do that no matter what.
Oh, yeah. Both times it was a case of I focused on that number on the scale, which is so ironic because I did this whole Facebook Live this morning about don't focus on the number on the scale. Uh, you know, I was those first two times, man, my eye was on that number on the scale, and I had blinders on, and I was losing 5 pounds a week. And, you know, it
Wow.
vegetables and chicken for every single meal. And, you know, every calorie was counted, and it was just extreme. So now I coach completely on the other end of the spectrum. And I'm like, you know, you can't focus on that number on the scale. You have to focus on all of those little daily habits and how you cope with things. And I do a lot with people of, you know, are you focusing on something you can actually change, or is it something that
Right.
you need to change your perspective on rather than, you know, trying to change something? You cannot change a brick wall. Sorry.
Exactly. Right. Although we'd like to, but
It would be nice.
it would be nice.
Yes, but, you know, we can't control other people and their actions.
Right.
So we have to
Mhm.
focus on what we can control. But back then, man, my poor husband, how I am still married to that man, I do not know, because I was the biggest control freak on the face of the planet. You know, he'd say, honey, I'm going for a run. And oh, I would have a conniption fit because he wasn't spending time with us. He needed to go there and spend time with us. Weren't we his first priority? Blah, blah, blah. I mean, I can hear the lectures that used to come out of my mouth. And now I'm wishing I would have let him run more because he can't run anymore. He had ankle surgery, but you know,
Oh, no. Well,
anymore.
it sounds like he loves you for you, you know,
He
what's in your heart.
Yes, yes, and we have both put up with a lot, but I think he got the lemon originally. Took a little while for the flower to come out. That is me now. Um,
It just took a little longer to bloom.
that's right, that's right. Um, you know, so all of this led to me. I've always wanted an online business. I mean, the
Mhm.
first time I investigated this, my 24-year-old was two. I am actually a software architect as well. And so I have been
Oh,
users since the 80s when the very first home computer came out.
wow.
So, you know, I have been investigating and trying to figure out where my passion was and
Mhm.
everything since the 80s. You have no idea how many times I have started and stopped something online. But then when I lost the weight and I realized all of the patterns and processes, and I talk that way because, I am a software architect during the day,
Mhm.
that I used to completely change how I lost weight are the things that people just don't talk about. And
Oh, interesting.
it's the reason, it's the big piece of why I could never lose weight and keep it off. And I built this whole entire process from the ground up. I basically sat down with one of my friends and I'm like, okay, what the did I do? Because I've got to reproduce this because I will tell you the way I raised my 24-year-old versus the way what my 14 and 15-year-old get from me as a mother is so different.
Right.
I set one of the reasons, one of my taglines is so they can stop observing life and start living it.
Mhm.
Because I couldn't even take my oldest to the park because I hurt too bad to get up and move around with him. And I will admit, I was a helicopter mom with him and terrified he was going to get hurt. I couldn't stand right. Did we talk about control issues? If I couldn't stand right there with him and keep him from getting hurt,
Mhm.
I couldn't do it. So, yeah, control freak, helicopter mom, all rolled into one right here with that old. Yeah, the reason I don't want him watching this because I just owned up to something he doesn't need to know.
Right, right.
Yeah, he will though. I'm very close with all three of my kids, even my oldest, who I smothered the crap out of and didn't give him a real chance to grow until he was 18. But with the other two, we go to the rock climbing wall, and all
Oh,
three of us climb the rock, go rock climbing in the rock climbing gym.
that is cool. I've never done that
Oh,
before.
it's a blast. Um, we go bowling. The whole family goes hiking. We do mud runs. We do the great inflatable race, which are, the inflatable bouncy things that the kids do when they're little. Out here, they have one that is a whole obstacle course race where most of these inflatables are 3 stories tall, where you climb them and slide
Wow.
to the other side. And, you know, the quality that my younger kids get
Mhm.
versus the quality my oldest one got is so different. And there are so many moms out there, whether they're in their 40s like I was when I started this or in their 30s, they want so bad and they hurt so bad because they can't do these things with their kids. And I know because I can remember laying in bed crying because I
Mhm.
knew I wasn't giving here I wanted to give my oldest child absolutely everything. He was my oldest, and I thought for years
Mhm.
only, but I couldn't. I physically was not able to. And I turned that into a whole bunch of anger at people that did not deserve my anger because it was just a case of I physically was not capable of doing it because when he was little, I weighed like 286 pounds. And even in my 20s, keep in mind, I was older when I had him, but I wasn't that old. I wasn't as old as I was with the younger two. But I hurt so bad, even in my 20s, and I had no energy. And I was just not capable of doing it.
Well, and one thing too is that our first child, because I have 4 adult children, the first child is always the test child.
We tell him he
You
was
know,
an
that's
experiment.
how you learn how to be a mother is like you just do what you think you know and well, okay, if it doesn't work, oh well.
Yeah.
But so you were saying that you hurt and you had told me earlier that you're 5'11".
Yes.
So even as tall as you are, with all that weight, you still hurt a lot. Like, was it hurting in your joints or your muscles, or what kind of hurt was it?
Mostly it was my low back. I have some issues with my low back and my neck. Uh, but it was just, I ached all the time because keep in mind, I was living on sugar and processed foods.
Ah.
That causes inflammation. So if you have
Mhm.
anything, like I've had varicose veins in my legs since I was in my early 20s, just because I've always been that big. You know, I was 180 pounds at 5'5" when I was in 7th grade. So I I've had all of these, like, you know, old people conditions since I was
Oh,
uh, very, very, very young. I call them that because my kids call them that, but they are,
right,
you know, the old people conditions, varicose
right.
veins and, you know, stretch marks that you shouldn't have until after you give birth. Yeah, I had those in 2nd grade. So,
Well, children always say what's on their mind. They have no censor when they're your child.
unfortunately, they come by that naturally because I don't often have a sensor either. I have a huge heart, so that's typically what comes out. Sometimes not so much. Um, yeah. So, but you know, it's the kids. I want to help these women that have the kids that they want to do these things with, but they're not physically capable. And they've reached the point where they're willing to say, I want to give up the quick fix so I can
Mhm.
actually reach my goal and stay there. Because the
Absolutely. Sounds like a really wonderful thing
yeah.
that you're helping women with. And I also want you to make sure you share this impact that you want to make. Like, how broad do you want your impact to be?
Well, I have actually clients all the way as far as Australia.
Oh, wow.
It's
And
been very eye-opening because Wonderland is very much a US based term because it's based on it's ONEderland,
uh-huh.
based on getting below the 200 mark on the scale. So, you know, we're talking pounds. So it's very US based, but the messaging that I have is really reaching and resonating with people worldwide,
That's
which
great.
in my opinion, anybody that is ready to get healthy, and I always say it's get healthy, not get skinny, because you can be
Yeah.
skinny and unhealthy too. I've done it. It's completely possible. But anybody that's ready to get healthy and take those steps, they have an exceptional amount of weight to lose,
Hmm.
but they get started and stop and they feel like the thoughts in their head just take over and take control. That's where we jump in and we work with people because so often we don't realize how what's up here actually affects what we put in here.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%.
You know, em-
Yeah.
everybody emotional eats. I mean, otherwise there would not
Mhm.
be commercials of people sitting on the couch eating a pint of ice cream because they their but there are those of us that have this problem that goes even further in that it does not matter whether we're happy, sad, angry, hurt, you know, it does not matter. The only
Mhm.
way we cope is with food, and that
Right.
is what we expect to release our problems. What we don't realize is it doesn't release them, it just makes it worse.
I know. I'm just really sad about that. Like, I love sugar lately. I mean, the last few years, it's like, sugar, I need sugar. When I'm frustrated or stressed,
Mhm.
I go to the kitchen and look for sugar or chocolate and then I feel good for that moment, right? While it's in my mouth and while it's going down. And then after I'm like, okay, that didn't solve my problem. I'm still frustrated.
Yes. Well, I the thing is sugar actually releases the same chemicals in your brain as working out hard or you know,
Mhm.
hugging your kids, believe it or not. That emotional connection, sugar releases that same chemical push in your brain. So one of the things I talk about is replacing the sugar push with a different one, regardless of what it is. Like, get down and cuddle your dog, go wrestle with your kids, something, because we can replace that. But we have to be aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
Have to, figure out what works for us, because what works for me may not work for you.
Right. I agree with that. That's wonderful. I know. I better remember that when I'm frustrated. Don't go to the kitchen. Stay away from the kitchen.
Jax, it might help.
I know. Oh my goodness. That's wonderful. So you were talking all about your journey.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think that you knew early on when you were struggling with all of this as an adult, young adult, did you ever think that this was going to be part of your why and the impact that you wanted to make? Now, I know you said that you were unhappy at times, and especially after giving birth, and but did you ever think that you would be helping women in this capacity, or like did that thought ever like pop into your mind ever?
Okay. Absolutely, positively, no way, not ever. I did a semester and a half of chiropractic school with my husband.
Oh, okay.
And I walked away from his program after telling the dean off. When he was more important than my child, you do not mess with Mama Bear. Mama Bear gets very ugly. So I walked away from that, and I have always had issues with doctors. And keep in mind, my entire life was doctors telling me I needed to lose weight and that I was lazy because I wasn't doing what they said.
And
So
you know what's interesting? I don't mean to interrupt you, but you're married to a doctor now.
he was not a doctor when we met.
Oh, okay. I get it.
We're both undergrad students, and believe it or not, I have always gone to a chiropractor. I've just picked and choose the chiropractors that did not do nutrition on purpose.
Oh,
And
mhm.
we're spending a small fortune in chiropractic. So I convinced my husband, with a degree in biopsychology that was installing sprinkler systems, that he needed to go to chiropractic school. And I went with him originally and said, no. So no, never in a million years did I ever think that I would be doing this. I could have sworn I would have been, helping small businesses with their technology, or
Mhm.
writing computer code, because I've written tons of computer applications for businesses. And I was the technical director for a company that does stuff for kids. So never in a million years did I think I would be sitting on the health coaching side of,
Mhm.
because I actually hated anything with the word health in it. Hated.
Yeah, I can see why.
It literally made me ill and sick to my stomach, because just that whole concept of
Mhm.
one more person telling me how lazy I was, which in my head turned into, you're a fat, lazy cow, and you just can't do what they tell you to do. You're broken.
Yeah, isn't it amazing how one person can say one thing and make your life crazy? But
Yes.
you know what's interesting now is that because we have the internet, we can actually search for people to help us in the area that we need, and we don't have to rely only on some doctor who says mean things and calls us things,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
yeah, we have this wonderful opportunity online to find those people that can help us in a much kinder way, because like I'm the type of person, like, if you think ugly thoughts about people, it shouldn't come out of your mouth, where you're going to hurt this person.
Yep.
We all have thoughts of
Yes.
all kinds, right? But you should never ever call anyone lazy or fat or stupid or anything like that. Go say it to yourself somewhere, lock yourself in a room, but
This was the 70s.
yeah, yeah.
The rules of engagement in the 70s
Mhm.
were very different than they are now.
I
I
know.
always tell my kids,
Thank
I'm like,
goodness.
never make it in the 70s and 80s, guys. You just wouldn't. Uh,
Yeah.
it's a whole different world now.
Mhm.
However, although they changed what they said as I got older and then would go to the doctor, the message was still the same.
Same. Yeah.
Message was I wasn't doing what needed to be done to lose weight because obviously I didn't want it bad enough, which turned into me hating doctors. And,
Mhm.
you know, because I did want it bad enough, I just couldn't control, didn't feel like I had control, and didn't know how to change what I did to get the control. And
Right.
they
It's like that.
me with that. They were just telling me what I was doing wrong. You know?
Yeah, it's like that saying that the doctors only put a band-aid on the problem. They're
Yes,
not looking at the root cause of the problem.
exactly. And that's completely it. They
Yeah.
and being a chiropractor's wife, I will say they do that with everything. You know, if they can give it a shot or put a pill in it, then that's what they do.
Mhm.
Uh, but at the same, and there are places where that's needed,
Right.
but there's some places where it doesn't always have the desired effect. They
Yeah.
want what's best for us, but even the doctors don't know. They
Mhm.
don't know how to help this certain subset of a population that the only thing they see, the symptomology they see
Mhm.
is, high sugars and heart problems and the number on the scale. They can tell you all the symptoms, but they can't tell you or help you figure out how to stop buying the box of brownies, or how to eating the entire box of brownies once
Right.
at home, which
Mhm.
I have Cosmic Crunch brownies in my house because I didn't eat the entire box.
It sounds really good. Let's not talk about that right now.
You know, but they can't help, so they try to give a pill or they try to put you in
Mhm.
surgery. But there are some alarming statistics. I have a friend who actually coaches women that have had bariatric surgery. There are so
Oh.
many women that have had the surgery that never fixed this part, and they never reached their goal weight. They reach their goal weight and then gain all the weight back. And
Oh.
she's had bariatric surgery and she focuses on people that are working on their bariatric regain. So in the big picture, this is regardless of whether you've had surgery or not, it's these pieces that I'm talking about that have to
Mhm.
be adjusted because nobody's broken. It's
Yeah.
they learned a different way to deal with stuff.
Mhm.
And most of us learned, it's not their fault because most of us learned from our moms.
Yep.
What did we do when baby cried? We pick up the baby, we cuddle the baby, we feed him a bottle. With
Yeah.
toddlers, we pick up the baby when the toddler screams and wiggles to get down and then throws a fit on the floor. Most moms give them a lollipop, you know,
Yeah.
or some kind of sugar, just because that's what you do
Right.
with toddlers. And so it's one of those things that it's built into us. We're supposed
Mhm.
to learn how to change this as we get older. Many of us do not. I
Yeah.
was 42 before I figured it out, guys. Come on.
Hey, you know what? That's okay. It's better late than never. But
Yes,
do you have a story of one of your clients that you would love to share? A success story?
I do. I do. I have a client, and we're going to call her Angie just because,
Right. Confidential.
not anonymous. When she
Mhm.
first reached out to me a little over a year and a half ago, she was desperate for workouts. That's all she wanted. She wanted me to give her workouts because she had injured her shoulder and she needed help. And then time goes by and she would start saying, I lost 5 pounds, I lost 10 pounds. And then a little more time would go by and she gained 20 pounds. And, we're talking through all of this. And then I have a challenge that I run once a quarter. And I did this habit challenge and she joined it. And in this challenge, we break down how to take non-scale goals that have nothing to do with that number on the scale and start adjusting things in our daily life.
Oh.
Blown away. She had never, ever, ever heard of addressing weight loss like this. She's now in my Wonder Sisters inner circle. And she actually named it because she started calling everybody Wonder Sisters, like before I ever created this program. And she is steadily losing 2 pounds a week. And her son actually had her reach out to me via messenger while he was sitting there. So, and he's a teenager. So, keep in mind, guys, this is a teenage boy. So, I have one of those and did have two at one point. He wanted me to know how grateful he was because his mom was so much happier. It wasn't that she had reached her goal yet because she's still working on that 2 pounds at a time.
Mm-hmm.
But her outlook on life has changed and she's no longer angry at the world. And, her workout, one of the things we talk about is you don't have to work out. It's not required to go to the gym. Keep in mind, a lot of us couldn't stand up to do the dishes. So her workout every day is getting up and vacuuming, and she has since built up to a mile on the treadmill every morning. She gets on her treadmill and she walks for a mile every day. But her son, it takes a lot for a teenager to say something to mom, let alone to have mom reach out. But I was sitting here on my couch one night just crying hysterically. My husband looks at me, what's wrong? I said, her son,
Absolutely. That is very touching.
it's not a case of that she's reached her goal. It's a case of she's changing all of these little things and these little changes, even during COVID, we've had a few situations where we've sat down and, we had to straighten out the wheels a little bit. But even during COVID, she's still losing, 1 to 2 pounds a week. And she's still making those healthy choices. And she's still using the I get to instead of I have to. And, just she's moving from this point in her life where she was so incredibly unhappy and she was focusing on, I just have to have a workout, to vacuuming my house and taking care of my kids and planning meals that we can all enjoy except for one picky eater. We all have one of those. These are the little things I can do. And by doing these little things, I'm moving from this point to this point to this point. And each little new thing, every once in a while, she'll say, it's time to level up. I'm ready for another one. And she'll add on another layer. But even before she adds on that layer, she's already made, all these strides getting toward her end goal.
That's wonderful. That's so great to hear that she's getting that kind of progress and making that much achievement
and she's just one of many that are either my one-on-one coaching clients or the people in my group that are having these types of epiphanies. It's never heard of before. And they light up my world. They're like more kids. I get more kids.
If you ever wanted more kids, you got them now.
I wanted lots of kids at one point in my life. I was the kid growing up with my cousin and my best friend that they wouldn't tell me anything because I was the mom. I would mom them out of it. So I told my husband, I said, this is just like perfect. I'm in Perfectville because in a lot of ways, being a coach is like being a mom. And,
Mhm.
I get to help them and I get to
Yeah.
see, and it's amazing. All of their little stories that just light me up. So it
Yeah.
doesn't matter if it's they drank their water today or they took the dog for a walk, or in one person's case, her workout is she spends 15 minutes every day going through her kitchen because she can't stand it. So she's going through her kitchen and reorganizing it. So, you
Well,
know,
I love the fact that you said it lights you up. And
yes,
that's the point that I wanna make too for viewers is that and I've said this many times before on my other videos that I've made, is that we need something to wake up every morning to be excited about. We need something to light us up like that.
yes, yes.
Yeah, we have to do that. If not, like I've gotten stuck in a rut, excuse me, stuck in a rut and just, the same old thing and I wasn't excited about much and
Mhm.
and that's great that you're sharing that.
Yes, it is. It must light me up because 5 days a week I'm up at 4:30, and then the other 2 days of the week I'm up at like 5:15 or so.
Oh, wow.
The minute the sun comes in my window, my brain starts spinning with, you know, I have limited hours because I still work a full-time job. So my brain starts spinning
Wow.
with all of the things I want to do and can do, and you know that type of thing. So
Wow. Are
it
you the so-called morning person?
I was not a morning person for 42 years. It is amazing what losing 120 pounds and working out daily does for one. Um, I was never able to sleep well at night. More than likely, I had undiagnosed sleep apnea.
Oh, boy.
I now, my head hits the pillow at between 9 and 10 at night, and I am out. There is no problem sleeping anymore.
That's good.
But I wake up even without my Fitbit bright and early, um, 7 days a week. So
Yeah, I aspire to wake up without an alarm one day.
my husband just finds it hilarious because he was my alarm clock for 20 years. It's he literally had to come in and shake me
Thank
awake
you.
every morning over 20 years. So yeah, it's one of those things that totally blows his mind. He's like, I just don't know who I married anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
He loves
You just keep him wondering.
yeah,
Well, this is good. It sounds like you're living your why and you're excited and that you're making an impact for
yes.
different people. Now, do you work with just women or do you work with men as well?
I right now my membership in my group coaching program is just women
Women.
because
Okay.
if you have men in a group, women don't always talk.
Yeah.
So it's I do have a couple of one-on-one male clients because it's the same process,
Mhm.
but
But
just
not in your group.
but not in my group just
Right.
because it's very hard to get women to open up.
Yeah.
A lot of times there is one guy in my free group, but he's an anomaly. He like brings everybody together no matter where he is. He's an anomaly. We'll put it that way.
Okay, good. Well, that sounds like a really fun thing that you're doing as well, as I okay, so I want you to just share with everyone how they can get in touch with you if they love what you're sharing and they want to know more about you and
Okay.
even talk with you. How would you like them to do that?
All right. So there are actually two of the best avenues to get a hold of me. One is Facebook. You will find me there under ONEderland Wellness, and that's ONEderland Wellness because we want to get under 199 on the scale. Um, that is on Facebook, but then that's also my domain name. So it's wonderlandwellness.net. And there's actually a Facebook Messenger down in the corner that you can click on, and you will get me, and only me, because when it rings, my 15-year-old who helps me out on occasion runs flying at me, Mom, Mom, Mom.
That's your instant messenger.
Yes, and not only is it instant messenger on the site, but it's also instant messenger via child. So,
Right,
yeah,
right.
yeah. So,
Oh, that's wonderful. It sounds like a lot of fun.
yes, I absolutely love it. These women light up my world. As a matter of fact, we have a session tonight, and I am pinging off the walls to go talk to them.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah,
Well, thank you so much for sharing your wonderful story. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day and sharing your incredible story. And I wish you all the best in your business. And I'll put all the information on how to get in touch with you in the show notes as well. So,
wonderful. Thank
yeah.
you. This was a blast. I had fun. I love virtually being in Hawaii. Now
Yeah, isn't it great? It's better than not being in Hawaii at all.
yeah, it is, definitely. I could take between 70 and 80 degrees because it's close to 100 here today.
Yeah, yeah, we have beautiful weather all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
So save your money so that you can come and visit one day.
One day I will, and we will go have coffee.
Okay, well, you have a good day, and I will talk to you soon.
Wonderful, wonderful.
All right. Take care. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.